Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Aztec Minerals. We're going to be recapping some recent news on an oversubscribed private placement, closed for right around $3.6 million, as well as the staking of some land around the Tombstone property in Arizona. I'm chatting with Simon Dyakowski, President and CEO of Aztec. Aztec is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol AZT and on the OTCQB under the symbol AZZTF. Simon, let's start off with this financing. You closed, as I mentioned, oversubscribed $3.6 million Canadian. The one thing I've noticed recently, especially, is a lot of financings being announced and being closed. This is a fairly decent size financing for the company. Now, I am assuming going to be used to drill even more of this Tombstone property. But first, can you just give us a little inside knowledge on what this market environment is like for raising money as an exploration play, please?
Yeah, happy to comment on that, and thanks for having me on for the update, Corey. So we did announce 3 million in late April and closed on 3.6 just last week. And there's demand for more, but we wanted to keep it, relatively tight. And yeah, it was a pretty quick close, non-brokered financing. So mostly our own efforts here. And we closed in around 3 weeks, which was great timing for us. The environment, it was good to raise money. I think some of the financings that maybe were going to happen in February, March, maybe got pushed into April because of the tariff volatility that's subsided over the last few weeks. Maybe that's why you're seeing more activity right now. It's kind of my guess. It wasn't, a whole lot of interest in doing a financing when the Dow was dropping, 2,500 points in a day or whatever it was in early April. So that all seems to be behind us now, and the gold price has hung in there, and there's been, very good support for us to continue to advance, really both of our properties and focus on Tombstone right now going forward.
Let's talk about Tombstone then, because just yesterday, May 20th, you announced the acquisition of land. You increased the land package by little under 50%, about 46%. This sounds like, or I read it, this was all done through staking. Explain to us this strategy then of increasing the land package at Tombstone. What are you looking for here?
Yeah, well, we those claims had just recently come up for staking, so we sort of pounced on them as there was an opportunity to expand the land package, and it was a fairly sizable chunk, 31 claims. We did select these on the basis of things that make sense to add and to sort of reconsolidate and rebuild the Tombstone district. And that is in keeping with what we've been doing over the past 5 years. So you'll recall in 2020, we added two patented claims. Then in 21, we added another two patented claims. And then again in 23, added another patented claim. And now there was an opportunity to add some unpatented lode claims. And so we took that opportunity. Some of them are contiguous, some of them are more like a semicircle that surround the property. But what we wanted to do here was obviously, there was an opportunity to expand on reasonable terms. So we did so. And, we'd like to demonstrate that there are opportunities to further grow the land package here at Tombstone. And we're approaching it in a methodical manner. But in terms of geological priority, that remains on our existing land holdings, which were part of the initial option into the Tombstone district, which we made back 7, 8 years ago. So that's where we've done our drilling in the past and where we continue to drill in our upcoming program that we're in the final stages of planning right now.
Simon, what's the difference between patented and unpatented claims? Can you explain that, please?
Certainly. So patented claims are mining claims that come with the surface ownership as well as the mineral title. So these are typically historic mining claims that have been passed on through generations, and it's more of a historical quirk that you can still get these in very old districts. So back in the day, you could patent the claims, which means that you'd own the surface as well, which is what I explained. So you can't do that anymore. But in old districts, they still remain. So we've been able to acquire a lot of private ground, also known as patented claims in this mining and exploration context. And then unpatented claims are, in this case, they're claims that are on federally administered land, administered by the Bureau of Land Management in the US. And so you do not own the surface access in this case, but you do own the mineral so long as the claims are still in good standing. So that's what we've been acquiring over the past couple of months is unpatented claims where we own the mineral, but not necessarily the surface. So more akin to what you see up in Canada when you stake claims.
So with these new claims that you brought in, any work commitments, anything cost-wise that we need to be aware of now that they're within the company?
No, not at all. So no work commitments, no royalties underlying them, and the only obligation that we'll have going forward is to make the annual payments to the county and the Bureau of Land Management, and that's just over, I think, around 300 US per claim. So it's maybe $10,000 a year or so to keep these claims in good standing. So it's not an onerous obligation by any means.
Okay, so looking at figure one, as you mentioned, some of these claims are contiguous with the Tombstone, your main action area, but there is kind of this semicircle, even circle around the Tombstone property. What's going on here with some of this land that I guess isn't owned by Aztec, but now you have this much larger land package?
Yeah, that land has various private owners, and so we have acquired some of that land in the past, the 5 claims that I mentioned. And so what's going on there? That's not a whole heck of a lot at this moment, as far as we can tell. It's fairly rural, arid land that doesn't have much development or anything going on it. It seems very suitable for mining exploration, but other than that, it's pretty boring, Corey, to be quite honest with you. So it's owned by various people, and if we see an opportunity to acquire more of some of those claims, and then we might consider that. But at this point, we're happy with what we've acquired so far, and the main contention zone and our deeper CRD target all sits on the core of the patented claims that we own in our joint venture right now. I don't know if you noticed in the news release that we also increased our ownership slightly in the joint venture to 78.7% from 77.7. So that's good. We're slowly gaining more control of the Tombstone property JV, and both in land and in ownership.
Yeah, that's one other thing I was going to ask you about. This is a trend, though, right? This is a JV, but it sounds like Aztec is carrying the load with the expenses. So you are just, I guess, naturally diluting down your JV partner.
Yeah, we have slowly done that now in a couple of tranches, so we'll see how it goes going forward, but it's moving in the right direction for us.
All right, let's talk about what's coming then. Now that you've raised this money, you're going to be going out drilling. Give us some insights on what the timing of that looks like, what the plans are for drilling. What can you tell us about upcoming catalysts?
Yeah, so we are gearing up for a follow-up drill program. And that follow-up drill program is in its final stages of design right now and planning. And we anticipate potentially having it starting up in the next month or so. And we're looking at this point at doing 5,000 meters of drilling, 3,000 meters of RC drilling, and up to 2,000 meters of core drilling, where we would be deepening a couple of the pre-collared holes drilled with RC and extending them down to depth into some of our CRD targets. So looking at doing one up in the north of the pit and then one in the center of the pit and one in the south. So to cover it off north-south with 3 properties, and to drill approximately 16 or so 200-meter RC holes as continued step outs and growth of the shallow high-grade gold silver system that we've been drilling off over the past couple of years.
How much of a focus is going to be on the southern extension where you had some of, I believe, the best results at the tail end of the program, or at least maybe some more surprising results? And how much is going to be spread out to that west side target? More insights on that, please.
Sure, yeah, you're going to see quite a bit of focus on the southern extension right now. I think we have approximately 5 holes planned in that area. You're going to see potentially a drill hole even further south of the southern spoke. So this is a completely new area for us to the south. We're potentially looking at a couple of holes actually to the east now, which is new for us. There's some quite interesting targets that were generated with some prospecting up on the eastern bench of the historic mine. And then we're looking at a half dozen holes or so towards the west side as well. So it'll be a mix. It's all subject to change and it's still being designed. but you'll see focus in the areas I think that make the most sense, being the west side, the southern extension, and then some step outs, exploratory holes to the east now as well.
All right, so Simon, with this money in the bank, then what sort of run room does it give you to fund this program, even to look into potentially next year?
Yeah, we've got run room obviously for this program now. 1.6 million US is the budget for the 5,000-meter program. And beyond that, we're looking at doing a field program at our Cervantes project in Sonora, Mexico, and getting that potentially teed up with some more drill targets. So that'll likely get underway over the next few weeks as well before the rainy season down there. And we'll see, what the results are of that, and subject to market conditions, subject to political conditions in Mexico, and subject obviously to exploration results and strategy, potentially teeing up a drill program there, maybe later in the year, early next year. But Tombstone is the focus now for most of the spending and the drilling, so that'll be all summer into the fall, and we're fully funded for all of those plans that I mentioned.
All right, Simon, thanks for the update here. I'll post a link to the Aztec website so all of you can read over that recent news. Please send me any questions you have, and I'll get Simon to address those future interviews, and I will also be following up as this drill program gets underway. Again, Simon Dyakowski, President and CEO of Aztec Minerals. Simon, thanks for your time today.
Corey, thanks for having me on. Have a great day.